Welcome to the RC Roundtable Podcast, where we discuss the latest RC hobby news, events, model reviews, and a whole lot more.
Well, hello, boys. I got just one question for you. Are you ready?
Born ready.
I said, are you ready?
Ready, Captain.
Let's rock.
Aye, aye, sir.
Thought I'd start this off getting a little more enthusiasm from you guys, but I'll take what I can get. So, with much wringing of hands, it's time for another RC Rescue. And it's so funny to me because we talk on the show, obviously, and we talk offline, obviously, and I can never really keep the two straight of what we've talked about on the show. So the thing we're going to talk about today, I think we've talked about before, but I can't really be sure. I suppose I could go back and look through the old shows, but ain't nobody got time for that, right? So you guys, I'm sure you'll remember it, but hopefully you'll guide me along here and help keep the timeline straight. But here's the object we're going to be talking about today. Does it look familiar?
Yes, that was not a swap meet? It was a estate sale, right?
This is, I got from a local estate. This is a Goldberg half a Skylane. And
that's it. But that's not the original wing, right? I think that was a different
It's
wing?
the original everything.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So I forget. I think I was originally after this old like push button transmitter, and that's what I bid on. Then when I went and picked it up, the guy handed me this too. Like, are you sure this goes with it? He's like, yeah, it's all part of the same lot. And then I got it home. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. This thing's actually pretty cool. So it's got the original wing, and it appears to be covered with silk span, and it's painted with dope or something like that. And there's no ailerons on it. You would think, okay, so it's a 2-channel airplane, elevator and rudder, because it had a half A engine, which would mean no throttle. But no, this was originally a 1-channel airplane. It had an escapement system in it, which was rudder only.
It goes way back.
Yeah. And based on the records that were with everything, it appears that this particular model was built sometime in the mid to late 1960s. So that makes it almost 60 years old now. And it's in remarkably good condition, I think, given its age. Now, you don't have to look very hard to find some blemishes and scars and things like that, but it's actually survived the years pretty darn well. And, oh gosh, I don't have it over here, but on the firewall, it had I think it was an 049, the Golden Bee, or was that an 074?
No, 49.
Okay, so it had the gold anodized engine.
Yeah, those were 49s.
Okay, and it had all the escapement parts were still in it, including the rubber band. And that stuff was kind of heavy, and it had a big, like the circuit board for the receiver and a NiCad battery pack. All the parts were there. And at some point, I said, you know what? I think I can make this thing fly again, but I don't really want to fly it on single channel. So my plan was to turn it into an electric and to add another channel for control. So I added elevator control, and then I added throttle. And so here's where my memory gets a little bit fuzzy. The last time we talked about this, did it have a power system on it? Because I remember getting some grief from Lee because you could see the battery and the wires kind of sticking up. Does that ring a bell?
No, but yes, I'm sure I was angry about something.
It does, but I can't remember if you had a motor on it. I guess at that point you must have had an electric motor on it. You had the wires or something. You know?
Yeah, so here's what I had on there in the beginning. This is
maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
So it's a 3D printed motor mount that looks like an 049, and then on the front it has an 1806 brushless motor. And originally I had a 5.3 prop on here, and I was using a 3-cell, like 450 milliamp hour.
Wait, can I see that prop again? It's on backwards.
No, it's a
wrong
pusher prop.
It's clockwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I intentionally had it going the opposite way because in my original iteration of this, the firewall was a little bit canted with some left thrust. So I'm like, well, rather than break all that off and give right thrust, I'll just use a opposite propeller. So I'm trying to use physics to my advantage here.
Very clever, Mr. Bond.
Well, it ended up not working out, so we'll get into that. So, like I said, here, let me take the wing off real quick. The wing's just held on with rubber bands, as it was back in the day. So I had to do a little bit of... What's that, Fitz?
One last thing. You said the escapement system had a rubber band on it?
Yeah.
And it hadn't disintegrated?
It was pretty well dry rotted, but it was there.
Interesting.
And, yeah, there's... I'll show you. I found some neat stuff because I'd never worked on a plane that had an escapement before. But there was a little... a section in the back. This part comes off. That's the peg for the back of the rubber band for the escapement. So it went all the way through the fuselage. And this area in here, it was just filled with radio parts. And obviously it felt kind of heavy. I don't remember if I weighed it back then, but it was packed full of stuff. And it's not a huge airplane for all of that old equipment.
Maybe we should give the elevator pitch for people who may not be familiar with an escapement system is?
I might need some help there, but basically it's non-proportional control. And I talked about the thing that I wanted from this lot was the push button transmitter. So my understanding is you push it once and it goes in one direction, you push it twice, it goes in the other direction, and it's bang bang, it's full throw. And then how do you return it back to neutral? Do you guys know that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think you let go of the button.
Oh, so while you hold it, okay.
I think, while you hold the button, it stays, and then you let go of it.
Yeah, so those of you out there watching this that are more familiar with the older radio systems, leave a comment. Let us know how that really worked. And so you can see the old switch on the side here. And originally I took that out, and there was this gaping hole. So I'm like, you know what? I'll leave the switch to plug the hole, and it'll be a little bit nostalgic. But I ripped all that gear out. And what I put in its place, 2 HS55 servos and a old Spectrum 6-channel receiver. And for the push rods, it's just 16th-inch fiberglass rods with nylon clevises on them. And then in the back, we've got the same old rudder. And there it is. So on the rudder side, I've just got a regular nylon control horn with a ball joint. And then on the elevator, now the whole horizontal stab used to be held on with rubber bands, but it just wasn't very stout. So it's now fixed with screws to the fuselage. And the elevator itself is just 3mm Depron that I used hinge tape to add on there with, again, another control horn here. And the joiner between them is just a piece of music wire. I don't know what size it is. Small stuff and with a little bend in it. So very low-tech approach to adding elevator control.
So you just add the Depron trailing edge to the existing elevator?
Just taped it to the existing trailing edge of the horizontal stab.
Maybe it's me, maybe it's a camera angle, but the horizontal stab looks rather big. Or is it just the camera angle? Looks oversized slightly.
I don't know. It's probably out of scale, but it's it's correct for the kit.
Yeah. Just they must have maybe oversized it for stability or something, or since it's a single channel, maybe they need it.
And it may be worth noting, I'm not sure, that it's not a flat slab of balsa. It's actually a built-up airfoil, but I think it's symmetrical, so it's not a lifting tail. It's just a built-up tail. But the vertical stab and the rudder, they're just slabs of balsa. So, yeah, there was some minor damage on some of this stuff that I had to repair, but all of that was really superficial. There wasn't anything serious going on there. And so in the front, like I said, originally I had this 1806 motor with the firewall on there, and I left a little gap behind it where I could fit one of those 3-cell 450 batteries. And I know I took power readings back then. I want to say I was getting around 60 watts, which seemed like it would be okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I replaced the wheels that were on it with these, the modern foam wheels or foam tires with plastic wheels. Originally, they were rubber, and I think the nose wheel might have even been solid rubber, with aluminum wheels. So a little bit chunky, and they were small diameter, so they weren't going to work well on my grass runway anyway. So with that first 60-watt power system, I took it out to my field, and it would not take off from the grass. It would just roll along at a high-speed taxi, and we were able to hand launch it, and it did fly from a hand launch. It didn't have a ton of power, but I could go and fly a couple circuits, and it did okay. And I was really happy to see that. I wish I knew when this plane had last flown with the escapement, because I would just imagine there was a pretty big gap between that and when I flew it again. So I thought it was cool to get it back in the sky after however many years that was. But I wasn't quite happy with it. I wanted to be able to ROG this thing, rise off ground. So I came home, and with the same power system, I switched from a 5.3 prop to a 6.3 prop, and that gave me a little bit more power. And with that, I was able to take off from the grass, but even with that, if I held max power, I could get up maybe 100 feet, and it took full power to do my orbits. And there wasn't any spare power for doing anything other than flying straight and level. So while that worked a little better, it wasn't what I was after. So I came back home, I ripped the firewall out, and I decided to step up in power. Originally, it was an 1806 motor, and I went to a 2204 motor. Not a huge difference. Let's see if I can compare them here. So what's on here now is the the 2204, and here's the 1806, and it may be even hard to tell. There's slightly bigger diameter, probably actually a little less depth, but it's a more powerful motor. And I think the KV on both of them is 2300 KV. So I went to the slightly bigger motor. This is a 4.5 prop, and I stepped up the battery to a 3-cell 800. And Lee will be very happy to know that in this new system, I ended up cutting away the back firewall and creating a cavity so that the battery fits down in there. And when everything's tucked in tight, you can't see it. So it's a little bit more polished now.
Does it have a hatch that goes on top?
Not yet. And so obviously I got rid of the motor mount that looks like an 049. My plan is to make a hatch with the cylinder that comes up. Okay. So at least maintain some of that. And if you go out on Thingiverse, you can find 3D print files for 049s. So I printed one, and gosh, I thought it was around here somewhere. But my plan is to make that hatch with the cylinder on top and polish it up a little more.
Speaking of cylinder, I'm thinking there must have been very marginal on an 049 back in the day.
That's what I was thinking. Given what I expected, even with the 60 watts, it didn't really fit the usual mold of being able to fly. You would expect it to be able to rise off ground at about 60 watts per pound. Oh, and I should mention, I weighed it back then. I don't remember exactly what the weight was, but now when it's new form, it's right at 20 ounces. So what's that, 1.25 pounds? So I'm guessing it would have been around 50 watts per pound with the original system. I think that's right on the threshold of ROG, but it didn't do it, not off a grass runway. Maybe if I had had a paved runway, it would have taken off, but not going to happen with grass. So back to where I was. With the new power system, I was actually able to remove a fair amount of nose weight. So I forget how much I had up here, but there was more than a little bit. So I think with the bigger battery and the bigger motor, I didn't really gain any weight because I was removing the ballast. And you're going to ask me how much power I have with the new system. I don't remember exactly. I think it's a little over 100. And with the new system, it takes off of grass, no problem. It flies around with excess. I can do some things that this airplane, I'm sure, never, ever did as a single channel. I can do loops with it. It does loops very nicely. I'm sure if you had done loops when you were flying with rudder only, you would have been having a heart attack. But it's fun with this plane. And one time I did a rudder roll with it, but that was so dicey that I decided I am never doing that again.
Well, I will have to ask, because this plane is quite old and it's probably been in storage, did it feel like the wing had any warp to it? Like, did you have any constant roll or anything that you had to correct?
No. Looking at the trim that I assume is the trim I left it in, the rudder is almost aligned perfectly. And I think that's one of the great things about this having been built with silk span and dope rather than an iron-on covering. It's not going to stretch over time. It's pretty much locked in. So the wing was straight then, and it's straight now. So
nice.
No big deal, yeah.
The only thing about that stuff is sometimes it gets brittle over time.
Right.
Silk span.
Yeah, this is actually oops, it's stuck. Oh boy.
Snap
You guys
crash.
aren't going to believe this. I had a piece of doubled over tape sitting on top of a bin on my workbench, and I set the wing down, and it stuck to the tape. And now I got to pull it off. Bear with me. Oh, it really stuck well to that silk span. All right. No damage. Oh, and this will be interesting. You guys were asking about brittle stuff. There were a couple holes in the silk span, but I don't think it's because it was brittle. If you push on it now, it still feels pliable. So I think it's okay. But I just put some tape over the couple holes that were here. But if you look at the center section, you can see an old name tag from the original builder.
Look at that.
Looks like 5 digits.
Yeah. 45576. Ward Paradise from Green Bay. So Ward, you done good, buddy. You built a nice airplane here that's still flying 60 some odd years later. Now, I have to admit that it did have wing struts, and they're from the kit. And by the way, did I show you guys the plans yet? The plans are in there, which actually came in pretty handy for dialing in the CG. And it says the flying weight was originally 22 ounces. I don't believe that it was 22 ounces with the escapement. Maybe as a free flight, it would have been 22 ounces. But yeah, I think it was just a chunk with the escapement. So I'm underweight a little bit. It flies nicely. It's not a floater, but it's also not a difficult airplane to fly. I do have some flight footage of it. You guys can't see it here, but through the magic of production, I'll insert some flight footage here.
Cut, edit.
Yeah. Interestingly, to me, the nose wheel is fixed. So it doesn't turn with the rudder. But on the ground, just the prop blast over the aero rudder is very effective for steering this on the grass. So I have pretty good directional control when I'm taxiing this thing. So I can taxi out from the pits and turn to line up with the wind and take off and then taxi back. So that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought it would only go straight or close to straight. That's all I can think of to share about it now. What questions do you guys have?
What was your final all-up weight?
20.0 ounces.
Very nice.
What kind of runtime are you getting?
I guess it depends on how much I'm hot dogging around, but usually around 6 or 7 minutes.
Oh, that's really good with the 800 milliamp hour pack, you
Yeah.
said?
Yep.
Yeah. Better than I thought, actually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I've had a couple flights so far where I'll get the low voltage cut off in flight, and then when I land, it's done. So I need to start setting a timer to make sure I'm not overdoing it.
How responsive is it to the rudder inputs?
Surprisingly. Like I said, I was able to do a rudder roll with it. It was a big, ugly rudder roll, but that gives you some indication of the amount of authority that it has. So I don't feel like it needs ailerons or more control. I wouldn't try flying it in a small park or anything confined. I don't know if it's that nimble, but it seems fine for flying at my field.
Might you try to improve the elevator design just a little bit?
What are you trying to say, Lee?
You know what I'm trying to say. We don't need words to understand each other, Terry. Can I just stare at you longingly and stare at that elevator?
You want to see it?
Well, I guess the question is, you have this, you like it. Are you content the way it is, or are you going to make any attempt to, try to get it back to where it would have been had it been a 2-channel RC?
I currently have no plans to change the elevator. It works. I don't think it's that much of an eyesore, and the amount of work it would take to change it to balsa and then color match the yellow or whatever I was going to do, I don't know, it's not worth it. And I'm not trying to hide the fact that this has been modernized in some way. I mean, it's got a dadgum brushless motor on the front. So
Dadgum?
Dadgum.
So no chances for ailerons either?
Oh, no, that would be an abomination.
Okay.
And probably wouldn't be very effective either. So I think to add the ailerons would take a lot of surgery because I'd have to hack up the wing to get the wires in there. Not going to happen.
Just to kind of backtrack a little bit, just to clarify. So you do have the single button transmitter and the escapement system?
Oh, yeah.
The complete set?
Yeah.
Really? Have you tried to get it working or see if it works or anything like that?
I've thought about it, but I haven't invested any time in doing it.
I saw a picture. I was looking one up to see if I could have it on the screen here. But someone did set up a little dummy tail, section with the escapement, so it's all in the open. Maybe you could try to do that and actually show it so people can understand that process.
Maybe.
It work.
Yeah, I have thought about those things. And related to that, on at least one of the flights, I'm like, you know what? Let's pretend it's still a single channel escapement. Let's just firewall the throttle and try to steer this thing around with the rudder. And I was able to do it. I take that back. I was able to fly it with just throttle and rudder. I left off elevator, and there was enough pitch coupling with the throttle that I could control that. And I made a good landing on the field. But was it easy? No. Could I do it with rudder only? No. Now, I would guess with some trimming and tweaking, I could eventually get there. But I don't really see myself investing the time to get to all that.
I don't remember if I told you this or not, but I did had a chance to fly something like that. It was Tony Accurso had I think it was an 049 or an 020 powered classic design Skylark or something like that. And he did the same thing. He didn't have an escapement, but he set it up as a single channel. So we had proportional rudder, but that was it. No elevator, no throttle. And he let me fly it for about 5 minutes or less because he was flying it for a bunch. He said, "Hey, you want to try it?" And I said, "Sure." And it flew for about 10 seconds and the engine ran out of fuel. Well, thanks. And he had a tricky, and when it's running, it's not too bad. You just kind of think ahead what you wanted to do because it kind of wants to naturally climb, so you can sort of S-turn it to kind of keep it from climbing and turning. Just landing, like you said, was a little tricky. You had to sort of think ahead how you wanted to land it. But it was a really neat thing to try for, how your grandfather did it, I guess.
Right. So I have just one complaint about it, and it's not quite inverted insignia, but on the wing, this is the leading edge here on the bottom, but the Carl Goldberg logos are, to me, inverted.
Oh, so we 180.
There's one on each wing. Yeah, so if you look at it from, I'm like, but they're water slide, and so I'm not going to take them off, but
gives it character.
Yeah, I guess. So the only thing that I plan to do to it is add that hatch with the dummy 049 cylinder. And other than that, I think it'll just be a little trinket that I take out for the novelty of flying a 60-year-old model. Even though it's modernized.
Sounds like something that needs to be at neat.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, maybe so. I was thinking about taking it there. So, yeah, I think people there would probably appreciate it for what it is. So, yeah. Good idea. So,
you can enter into the classic design contest. Where they had, like last year, they had a...
I think that was only for the 20th anniversary of that event.
Oh, okay.
And it was only for airplanes designed to be electric. So this would not have qualified for that anyway. Yeah. But I do think there's people who would appreciate just having an old model there that still flies.
Maybe find somebody who's actually built one.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Anytime you bring out any of those old models like that, somebody says, yeah, my uncle built one of those, or I built one of those, and I remember that. So, and, with the plans still around, you still could build one of those.
Yeah, that's true. So you're generally pretty happy with it?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out, especially given the level of effort that it required to get going. It was mostly just a cleanup. It had been sitting around for a long time. It was dirty. And so cleaning it up and then ripping out all the old gear and then throwing in some quasi-modern gear and then a little bit of tweaking of the power system. So given that, it flies better than I expected, I should say. So, I call it a win.
And this was a freebie, right? Is that what you said?
No, it was part of the estate lot that I bought. And I'm sure you pointed me to this estate sale. But it was an unexpected part of that lot. I thought I was buying a transmitter, but I bought a transmitter and a radio with some gear inside. So, yay.
Hey,
you want me to grab the transmitter real quick? It's right over here.
Yeah, let's take a look at it.
All right, stand by. So here's the transmitter, and I assume this is the one that was used with it, but I can't see for sure. There's your push button to do the controls, and then an on-off switch. That's it. Turn it on and push the button. It's like the iPhone of radios.
I was just thinking that the Apple of radios. But wait, or Macintosh. Is that a mule or ass with atomic electrons?
Yeah, it's an atomic ass.
That's a much better brand name. They should have gone with Atomic Ass.
Oh, that should have been my username for this video. It'll be my next one.
Interesting.
So there we are. Go ahead.
Just look at the way they burnish the metal or whatever. It's kind of funky too.
Yeah. If it looks like it's textured, but if you rub your finger across the front, it's completely flat.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder if it uses the same batteries we have now, or he has to use some strange voltage batteries. 6.8 volt batteries or something like that,
Yeah, I don't think that was the case here. Based on the equipment that was in the plane, it seemed to be pretty standard NICADs. Okay. So I'm assuming you could either.
Sometimes they use weird batteries back then, dry cells,
Yeah, I'm sure with some voltage regulators and/or resistors, I'm sure you could make some.
Yeah, you can get a adjustable voltage regulator, fix that in an instant.
Yeah.
The really bad ones is the ones that had vacuum tubes.
Oh, yeah, gosh.
Because those needed high voltage batteries to run the part of the heaters and the tubes.
Yeah, big heavy ones and like a flight station. You weren't holding this transmitter.
And you had like a half-hour battery runtime.
So, I mentioned the wing struts that I omitted, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So somebody mentioned the other day that they thought an old kit or old balsa wouldn't last, but this wood is in perfectly fine shape. I think as long as it's stored in a not humid environment or something that would cause it to degrade, it lasts indefinitely. So this is all still in excellent shape. So yeah, no cause for concern there. And same thing for the finish. These stripes on the side, these are painted, and it's all held up pretty darn well. It's yellowed a bit. The white has yellowed, but I think it's doing its job of fuel-proofing the balsa back here. Not that it needs that anymore. Even the plastic on the windows has held up pretty well. It's cracked up here. The previous owner had patched it with tape, but it's all there and staying together.
Sounds like that plane has seen an interesting life.
It could tell some tales.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So, yeah. That's my latest rescue. I'm happy with it. I'm ready for another one. I've got a plan for what the next one's going to be, but I'm not going to tell you, so it'll be a surprise here.
Why would you?
Exactly. Why would I? So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'm talking to the listeners now, not you two jokers. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, put it in the comments. If you have things to correct us on, put that in the comments too. Tell us why we're dumb. and
We know why.
well, right. Confirm why we're done. Tell us what you would do differently, or if you have an example of one of these or something like it that you've flown, let us know. We want to hear about it. So, Fitz, you usually do all the, at the end, the talking about the subscribing and liking and all of those things. Do you have your spiel memorized?
No, maybe. You want to do it? Do your show.
No. All right. Well, let me ask you guys a question first. Do you have a rescue that you're almost ready to talk about?
Not almost ready. No.
I have chores. My rescue is an air conditioner.
Oh, right.
It's like, man, that's just boring as hell.
Yeah. You've rescued that.
My sanity is what I need to rescue.
Yeah.
No, nothing to rescue. I still have a lot of projects, so I just had to. We'll have to lean on Fitz a bit because he's got to give us. He's got to catch up, right?
Yeah, I got a couple of candidates. I need to choose one.
Yeah, I thought the last time we talked about this, you were going to do an old Kyosho plane, like the Duet or something.
I do have a Duet. It would be nice to pull that down and fix it up. So,
not like you have anything else going on with your life.
Yeah, I know. I got a bunch of other stuff I'm trying to fix.
I don't know how you do it.
Let's put the Duet up. What's that?
The Connie. That would have been.
Oh, there you go.
That was a perfect rescue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We can do the Connie then.
All right. So
I think I got a couple of still pictures too as I was repairing it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Not a lot, but I think a couple.
Let's have the rescue after we had the
Remaiden.
The re-remade.
Yeah, we need to fly it.
Yeah.
It's ready to fry.
Let's do that. Fry.
And for anybody who's wondering what the heck we're talking about, listen to episodes 219 and 220, or no, 220 and 221.
Is that the
Here's
wing?
part of the wing. This is part of the wing right here.
Oh, there you go.
It's kind of in the way, but
Yeah. All right. Well, good. That'll be the next one then. Soon.
flap. Yeah, okay.
Perfect
Yeah.
example of a rescue.
Yeah.
I can talk about this.
Coming soon to a
Okay.
YouTube channel near you.
Yeah, something that would have been in the trash. Fitz raised his hand and said, "I'll take care of that."
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe and check out our podcast and our Facebook page and our website, rcroundtable.com. You know how to find us. It's not a secret. And if you have any messages you want to send us, contact at rcroundtable.com. They come to all of us, but only I look at them usually. But if you want to talk to any of us, that's the way to get started with it. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Please visit our website at rcroundtable.com. That's where you will find all of our podcast episodes. You can also find a little bit of background information about the show host and leave comments and suggestions about the show. There are links to a few of our favorite vendors and also links to our various social media accounts. Thank you for watching and listening.